See Vinicius Jr. on the ball, I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
Vinicius Jr. Still Vinicius is going to try and shot. What a goal. Vinicius Jr. Is there a more on-form player in La Liga right now? Apart perhaps from Ben. He was once Europe's most feared winger. Then the system turned against him. But under Xabi Alonso, Vinicius Jr. isn't just coming back. He's about to terrorize the continent all over again. But how is he about to do that? And how is Xabi going to change him to a monster? Well, let's talk about it. Real Madrid is entering a new chapter, and it's not just about a new coach. It's about a shift in identity. For the past years, Carlo Ancelotti has been the man in charge. And to be fair, he did a lot of things right. Under him, Madrid found consistency. They won La Liga. They won the Champions League. They rebuilt after the exits of legends like Ramos and Marcelo. Ancelotti brought stability. He trusted the veterans when he needed to, but also gave the younger generation like Vinicius Jr. a platform to rise. And no one used that opportunity. Better than Vinny, he became a symbol of the new Madrid, the explosive pace, the confidence on the ball, the swagger. When Benzema dropped deep, it was Vinicius who carried the attack. Whether it was tearing apart defenses in La Liga or scoring in clutch Champions League moments, he wasn't just part of the team, he was the threat. And that's what made the Ancelotti era exciting. It was a team transition, but with Vinicius leading the new wave, it looked like the club's future was in safe hands. He had the backing, the freedom, and the system that allowed him to thrive. But now that era is over, and what started as a perfect match slowly became a misfit, especially last season. The arrival of new stars changed everything, and for Vinicius, the spotlight that once followed him began to shift. The 2023-24 season wasn't just a good season for Vinicius Jr. It was the season that confirmed he had officially entered the world-class tier, not as a potential star, not as someone with raw talent, but as a fully formed, match-winning, game-defining player. Everything came together for him: his pace, his technique, his decision-making, and most importantly, his finishing. That was the final piece of the puzzle. We always knew Vinicius could dribble past 3 defenders. We knew he could excite crowds, but for a long time, people questioned whether he had that end product, that cold, calculated ability to finish off chances or consistently deliver in the final third. Well, in 2023-24, he answered every one of those doubts. He scored 24 goals and added 11 assists in all competitions. That's 35 goal contributions. But beyond the numbers, the quality of those contributions mattered. He scored in big matches. He created chances when others went missing. He was the engine behind Madrid's transitions, the outlet when they were under pressure, and the nightmare for every fullback in Europe. And when you look at the trophies, La Liga, Champions League, Supercopa d'Espagne, it becomes clear Vinicius wasn't just part of the team. He was the face of it, the one player who looked like he could win the Ballon d'Or, and nobody would have called it undeserved. He had matured. His off-the-ball movement had improved. His ability to stay calm in decisive moments had improved. And the understanding he had with players like Bellingham and Rodrigo looked natural. It was a perfect fit. But then everything changed. Kylian Mbappé arrived, and that should have been exciting. 2 of the most explosive players in world football in the same attack. It sounded like a cheat code, but in reality, it created a tactical headache that immediately impacted Vinicius' role in the team. See, Mbappe's game is built around the left half space. He's most dangerous cutting it from the left, where he can receive the ball wide, isolate defenders, and either shoot or combine centrally. Sound familiar? That's exactly where Vinicius operates best. That's where he's most comfortable. That's where he's lethal. So now, what happens when 2 of your top stars want to occupy the same zones? Someone has to shift, and that someone was Vinicius. Suddenly he was forced to play on the right in some games or tucked into central zones he didn't enjoy. His positioning wasn't as free. His one-on-one moments were fewer. And worst of all, He didn't seem as involved. The rhythm he had built across the last 2 seasons gone. You could see the frustration, not just from fans, but in his body language. The drop in form wasn't drastic. 21 goals and 18 assists in 52 games is still elite. But for Vinicius, it felt like underperformance, especially when he had just delivered a season that had Ballon written all over it. He went from being the guy to just one of the guys. And you can't ignore the mental toll of that. A player who had earned the right to lead the team was now having to adjust his game for someone else. That kind of shift affects confidence, decision-making, and chemistry. There were tactical clashes. There were spatial overlaps. It simply didn't work as smoothly as it should have. And it became obvious if Real Madrid kept using him like this, they'd be wasting one of the most dangerous players in world football. But now there's a change, not just in players or tactics, but in leadership, because the man coming in, Xabi Alonso, might be exactly what Vinicius Jr. needs. But before we talk about that, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Xabi Alonso is not just a new face on the Madrid bench, he's a tactical revolution waiting to happen. And if there's one thing you need to know about Alonso is that he doesn't just manage players. He unlocks them. Look at what he did at BA Leverkusen. He took over a team that was fighting relegation, sitting near the bottom of the Bundesliga table. Morale was low, the team looked lost, and there was no clear system. In his very first full season, Alonso didn't just steady the ship, he transformed it. Leverkusen went from fighting relegation to finishing 6th in just a few months, and then in the 2023-24 season, they went invincible. No losses in the league. That's 34 games unbeaten in one of the most competitive leagues in Europe against teams like Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Leipzig, you name it. And this wasn't defensive football or luck. Alonso's system was calculated, modern, and clear. It was built around control, fluidity, and intelligent use of spaces. His go-to formation, a 3,421 with emphasis on inverted playmakers, progressive wing backs, and positional discipline. Every player had a function, every run, every press, every pass intentional. But here's where it gets interesting for Vinicius. Alonso's system thrives on left-sided creativity. At Leverkusen, that role was occupied by Florian Wirtz and under Alonso, Wirtz didn't just grow, he exploded into seasons. He delivered over 68 goal contributions. And he wasn't even a traditional winger. He was an inverted attacking midfielder, drifting into half spaces, constantly receiving the ball between the lines, always in the perfect position to either play the killer ball or go for the goal. Himself, Alonso didn't force Wirtz into a role. That didn't fit. He built a system around his strengths. He gave him the platform, the angles, and the support to shine. Wirtz responded by becoming one of the best young players in Europe. Now imagine Vinicius Jr. in that role. Vinicius already had 35 goal contributions in a different season, where he wasn't playing to his strengths. That's while adjusting to Mbappe, shifting flanks, and dealing with a loss of space. Now imagine him in a system specifically designed for dynamic left-sided attackers. Imagine him being the primary outlet, again, the focus. The dangerous man in the half space with options all around him. This is what Xabi Alonso brings. He's not going to play Vinicius and Mbappe into each other's zones. That clash of space we saw under Ancelotti, Alonso won't let that happen. In the 3,421, there's structure and Mbappe can operate as the central striker or on the right side of the two attacking midfielders. Vinicius gets that high left channel to himself, the exact zone where he thrives. And more than just structure, Alonso offers a system of balance. The wing backs provide width, the midfield double pivots provide cover, and the front three have the freedom to combine without losing shape. That's crucial for a player like Vinicius, who needs that support behind him to feel free going forward. Even the small details like Alonso's positional rotations and passing patterns help wide players find space in dangerous zones. At Leverkusen, this was what made them so hard to stop. No player was ever isolated. The left side always had overloads. If Vinicius gets those conditions, he becomes unstoppable. And here's the key difference. Alonso sees the game from a player's perspective. He understands what it means to give your best and not to be used right. He won't waste a weapon like Vinicius. He'll refine him. We've already seen what Vinicius can do when he's 70% optimized. Now, under Alonso, we might be about to witness the 100% version, systemized, supported, and unleashed. But how exactly would Vinicius fit tactically into Alonso's 3,421 system? And how does Alonso ensure there's no more role overlap with Mbappe? Let's break this down. Alonso's preferred setup at Leverkusen was a 3,421. That means 3 center-backs to wing-backs, a double pivot in midfield, and 2 attacking midfielders sitting behind a central striker. But here's the thing. Those 2 attacking midfielders are not your typical number 10s or wide wingers. They operate in the half spaces, areas between the opposition fullback and center back. They're given freedom to float, to combine, and to attack space with speed and intelligence.